Is the screen visible? श्रीवत्सवंश कलशोदधिकौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराघवगुरोस्तनयं ततश्च विद्यावाप्य विबुधोत्तमतां दधानं कुर्वे सदा हृदि गुरुं करुणाकराख्यं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोर्रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये मातापिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यं श्रीमान् वेङ्कटनाथार्यः कवितार्किककेसरी वेदान्ताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि. We were looking at the Panchabhutas. We saw about Akasha, Vayu, Agni, and Apa. Now we have to see about Prithvi. That is the fifth element. Now this was mentioned in the previous lecture that there is something special here. What was special about Akasha? That it is well spread out. What was special about Vayu? The kind of respect that Vayu is given. What is special about Agni? That it is always pure. It is untainted. Right? So, we also discussed about water. And we said that water by itself might not be cleaning, but it has a cleansing property. Flowing water is supposed to be cleaning. But that is scientific. We have Punya Tirthas. We have divine ponds, lakes, rivers as well, where when people take snana, when they go and take bath, we say they are cleansed of their sins. These sins are not physically visible. It should be understood properly. So when it comes to Ganga, for example, Ganga Snana, people say Ganga itself is so dirty. If I go and take bath in it, what will happen to me? No, the dirt that they see is physical, not spiritual. Some people argue that the specific virus that exists in the Ganga, it is a bacteriophage, right? It can eat and destroy bacteria, and therefore it has some medicinal properties, and that is the cause of its divinity. But that is not what our scriptures say. As far as our Shastras are concerned, for Ganga, if we want to discuss in specific, we would have very clear pramanas from sources like, for instance, Ramayana. So in Valmiki Ramayana, it is very clearly described in Balakanda how Ganga originated, how it came from Devaloka to the earth, and then from here it flowed down even further so that Sagara's sons could be saved. So all of that is mentioned in the Shastra, and we accept the Shastra here as it is. We do not question it. How can we accept it as it is? We know that Ganga originates from the glacier and not from anywhere else. You are saying it is coming from Devaloka. Well, assume that the glaciers came from Devaloka and the water comes from the glacier. That's all there is. We don't have to worry much. But we do believe that the Devaloka is real, that Indra, Chandra, all of them are real Devas, that the stories that talk about them, sometimes here and there, the Vedas or even the Itihasa Puranas, they would indulge in an element of exaggeration in order to teach us a point. And therefore, such stories would be illogical. But there are times when the stories are not that illogical and when they should be understood literally. Indra is a position. The person at that position, that Devaloka's Raja, is a real person. with a real life. That is how we understand it. So, the divinity that is seen in water, wherever it is seen, all water is not divine. Water is great. Water should never be wasted. The Shastras are against the wasting of water. Even if we want to wash our feet, we cannot directly use tap water. We have to first take water in a mug or something and then pour it on our feet. The Shastras are very clear. Do not disrespect water in any way. Do not waste water in any way. Our ancestors said it so many thousands of years ago. Now, we are looking at the aspect of divinity in water. This divinity exists wherever it is mentioned as divine, wherever it is mentioned as holy. It is spiritual divinity. A person who takes bath in Ganga, let us even take Prayaga as an example. During this Kumbh Mela, they said that there are certain parts where, since lots and lots of people went, the water became polluted. The water might have become polluted. Physically, it might not have been able to cleanse these people. But the spiritual cleansing would have always been there. That is the speciality, because spiritual cleansing is mentioned in the Shastra. So there is physical, mental, and spiritual purity. A person with mental purity, a good person, when such a person goes and takes a dip in the water, the holy water, he would definitely prosper from it. But why do I talk about mental purity here? What about a person who is mentally impure, a person who is evil? In this regard, a great Acharya of Vishishtadvaitha, Swami Vedanta Deshika, he has commented, in Subhashita Nivi, there is a shloka, Gunajala Prakarshepi, Dhivaratvepi Janmataha, Sarvatirthavagahepi, Nicha Vrittir Nashasyate. So he says, Gunajala Prakarshepi, Dhivaratvepi Janmataha, a person who has all sorts of amazing skills. Let us assume that since birth itself, the person has been extremely intelligent, very, very capable, physically capable, mentally capable, and everything. Sarva tirthavagahepi. Let us assume that this person has visited every single punya tirtha. Sarva tirthavagahepi. Nicha vrittir nashasyate. But if that person is a nicha vritti, if that person is not having good character, if that person is mentally impure, if that person is evil, then going to all of these holy places will not burn the sins. So when we talk about the special aspect of water in this regard, see, fire also cleans. Fire is very pure, it is untainted. But if I jump into fire, then I will burn. My body will not remain. Water can also clean, and water does spiritual cleaning in so many places. We are going and doing it. But who will it help? It will help people who are good. A person who had been evil, if such a person has realized his mistake and wants to perform prayashchitta, it would work. A person who has always been good, a person who is good, that person will still benefit. So you cannot undergo the cleansing of sins when you are still a sinner in your mind. That is a limitation. Water cannot remove the sins of a sinner who remains a sinner. And this is a very important aspect in Sanatana Dharma, because we do not believe in forgiving the unworthy. We say Bhagavan forgives everyone, but that does not mean that every criminal after committing a crime would still say, oh, Bhagavan will forgive me. It does not work that way. He will forgive everyone when everyone realize their mistakes and become good and seek forgiveness. That is how we should understand it. So, as far as the cleansing property of water is concerned, It will clean only good people. The spiritual cleanliness comes only to good people, not to the bad people. So people say, oh, if you go and take bath in Prayaga, you will get moksha. If you go there, all your past sins will vanish. If you go there, so much punya will come. So many things are said. And most of them are not baseless. They are all present in the scripture. Yet, these benefits come only to the appropriate people. Therefore, the law of karma should never be forgotten by us. At the end of the day, this water counts as achit, right? It is achetana. It is not a living entity. It is not conscious. It will behave blindly. And who has set the formula for it to work? Bhagavan has said it. So he has set it and it is working accordingly. That is the speciality of water. Now we are moving on to Prithvi. Prithvi, the earth, the word sometimes refers to just land. Sometimes it refers to the earth as a whole. What we should understand here is that as an element belonging to the Panchabhuta group, it is referring to the physical world. So when we say Varaha lifted Bhumi, which Bhumi was it? It was this Bhumi, this physical Bhumi that was lifted by Varaha. That is why in images of Varaha, you can see the globe on his horn. What about Bhumi Devi then? Bhumi Devi is an aspect. She is an aspect of the divine feminine. She is a divine consort of Bhagavan. She is responsible for the earth the way Vayu is responsible for air. Vayudeva is responsible for air. Like that, she is responsible for earth. That is how we should understand it. So, inside Prithvi also, Narayana is there. Narayana is Sarva Vyapi. Antar Bahishcha Tat Sarvam. He is inside all the bhutas. Therefore, he is inside Prithvi as well. Prithvi is Achit. And it is a consequence of the transformation of Mula Prakriti, as we had already seen for the others, the other bhutas. Prithvi has predominantly tamoguna. It is stable. It is not associated with lots of movement. It is not associated with constant activity. And in that sense, we understand tamoguna here, not implying that Prithvi is evil, but implying that there is a lesser activity. So non-living entities are also divided into sattva, rajas, and tamas, as we have discussed earlier. That is there. So what is the guna of the earth? We say Gandhavati Prithvi. Gandha referring to smell. So there is Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha. We have Panchabhutas and Pancha Tanmatras. We had discussed about the Tanmatras also earlier, right? So each Bhuta is associated with one special sense, like Akasha associated with Shabda, Vayu associated with Sparsha, then Agni associated with Rupa. You cannot see a Rupa for Vayu or Akasha. You cannot touch and feel Akasha, but you can feel the wind through your skin. So you know that Vayu is associated with Sparsha. Agni is associated with Rupa. You are able to see it when it is in the form of fire. Then, when it becomes water, that water can be tasted. So there is rasa. And then finally, there is Prithvi. Prithvi is associated with Gandha. That is smell. So, as we had seen earlier, we had seen about Trivitkaranam and Panchikaranam. So the Bhumi that we have, the Prithvi that we have, it is not 100% Prithvi. It is largely Prithvi and having smaller ratios of other bhutas. So when we say that Prithvi comes from water, do we see land getting created from water? No. Do we imply that living beings were initially in water and eventually they came on land? No, we don't. We don't say any of that. What we imply is that during the creation of the universe, this is how the transformation happened of Mula Prakriti. So from Apa, Prithvi came. From water, the earth came. The earth element came. This is how the creation is described. And therefore, when there is pralaya, what will happen? Prithvi would go and undergo laya with apa. And what will happen to this apas? It will go and dissolve into Agni. Agni will then get into Vayu. Vayu will get into Akasha. In that way, they will go in the reverse direction. That is about Prithvi as the non-living aspect. Now a question might be asked, how was it possible for Hiranyaksha to lift the entire planet? It doesn't even make any sense. More questions could be asked. If Ramayana is seen, Ramayana, where it talks about Ganga, it talks about the Ashtadiggajas. The Diggajas are supposed to be bearing the weight of the earth. So what happens? There is a king called Sagara. He wants to do a yajna, but the horse goes missing. His 60,000 sons keep searching for it. They don't find it. They start digging and they create deep pits which get filled by water and eventually become the oceans of the earth. They eventually go to Rasatala, where they see an avatara of Bhagavan called Kapila. Kapila is there meditating. Near him, they see the horse. Mistaking him to be the person who has stolen the horse from them, they decide to kill him. But they don't kill him. Instead, they end up dying. Because they have undergone a Durmarana, they have to be saved. That savior is the person who finally brings Ganga water. In the same lineage of Sagara, several generations later. But when he tries, he also sees all the he also sees the Diggajas. So these parts are all described in Ramayana. The Diggajas are so large. If they shake a bit, earthquakes happen. Now people might say, earthquakes happen because of the movements between the tectonic plates. The tectonic plates move. They sometimes hit each other or go away from each other. Their movements are what cause these issues. Are the Diggajas the tectonic plates? No, they are not. Are the Diggajas responsible for the earthquake. Science will not accept, right? Science says earthquake happens because of tectonic plate. Then how should we understand it? We should understand the Diggajas as being very large. We should not imagine the Diggajas to be literally 8 elephants outside the earth carrying the earth. The way Westerners have portrayed our scriptural explanation is nonsensical and illogical, and therefore very easily laughed at by atheists and anti-Sanatanists. The real explanation is not like that. Because at Rasatala, when he sees these elephants, he is able to walk, he is able to breathe. There is free space. There is free space. There is ground below and there is ground above. Imagine being inside a cave. There is ground below and ground above. Inside the cave, if there is an animal, that animal is there near you. Maybe if it is a giant animal, so large, to explain how large it is, they are simply using a comparison, saying that if the elephant shakes its head, an entire earthquake will happen. It is that huge. Understand it that way, it will not be a problem. If you go beyond it, you will go wrong. Because by digging the earth, if you are able to find something, there should be mud and stone all over. That is not seen by us. And therefore, we are to understand that by digging into Prithvi, there were ways to go into other lokas. This is mentioned in Mahabharata also, correct? It is mentioned in plenty of scriptures. See, we have Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Mahatala, Talatala, Rasatala, and Patala. These lokas are reached by going downwards, in the downward direction. But if you go downward on earth, you would reach the mantle and then the core. When would you reach these lokas? Science has not found it. Maybe there was a different path. We don't know. But calling these things as unscientific is not going to work. Plus, we as Sanatanis, assuming that, oh, it sounds unscientific, therefore it must be a different explanation, or therefore it must be a later addition, or therefore it must be incorrect. Valmiki did not know the Shastra properly. Our scriptures have mistakes just like other scriptures. The scripture never meant to say this. We should not get into any of these traps. Whatever is mentioned, if by chance it is mentioned at one place, we can ignore. If the same thing is mentioned over and over again across all our scriptures, we have to accept it as complete pramana. There is no other way. And so far, we have not seen a place where it is illogical. So that was about the earthquake part of Prithvi. Another Purva Paksha is about Hiranyaksha lifting the earth. How was he able to lift the entire earth? Well, his form is described that way. His form is described as a giant who was much larger than the earth itself. These are not ordinary bodies. These are not ordinary people. It is not some random boar running amok on land, which was then spotted by Hiranyaksha. And then Varaha went and killed Hiranyaksha. That is not how it is described. So, Varaha took a huge giant form because Hiranyaksha had taken a giant form. These forms are possible for people with spiritual power to take. With physical and mental power, we can do only certain things. With spiritual power, we can do much, much more. So that spiritual power was there with Hiranyaksha, as he had also performed tapasya and everything. He was a powerful person, very capable. And therefore, Bhagavan took the form of Varaha. Swami Deshika explains the Dashavataras in his Dashavatara Stotra. There is one shloka where he lists all the 10 avatars. And he answers the question about why Bhagavan took specific forms. Ichha meena. Why did he become a fish? Out of his will. He decided to take the form of a fish and therefore he took. In that way, Ichha meena. Viharakachapa. Mahapotrin. The great boar, because it was so large, it was just giant form. This is the teaching of Vishishtadvaitha. Vishishtadvaitha does not assume these statements about giant Varaha, lifting of the earth and all of them to be metaphors. We, in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, which follows Vishishtadvaitha, we accept all of these as literal. We accept these as real. Today's people might not have seen something like that, therefore they might find it unimaginable. But that is all. We don't have to worry about it. Now, going to the second part, as the Devi, there is Bhu Devi, who is there along with Shri Devi. If you go to Tirupati, you can see Bhagavan is there with two consorts, Shri Devi and Bhu Devi. If you go to Sri Rangam, you can see Bhagavan with three consorts, Shri Devi, Bhu Devi and Neela Devi. All the three are mentioned in the Vedas. There is Shri Suktam, there is Bhu Suktam, there is Neela Suktam. All of it is there. Bhu Devi is very important in Sri Vaishnava tradition. Not only because she came as Sita, but also because she is the one who came as Goda Devi, Andal, who we celebrate during the Tamil month of Margazhi. So in the month of Margashirsha, we pay special respects to Bhumi Devi. What does she teach us? She teaches us patience. The first and foremost thing that Prithvi teaches us is patience. Look at what people are doing. They keep digging, they do this, they do that, they do all sorts of things. But the earth bears all of it. We commit 100 crimes and the earth bears all of it, all the living creatures on it, right? What should we learn from it? We should learn patience and we should learn compassion. This is explained. This patience and compassion is explained by Swami Deshika. Of course, there is a Stuti, Bhu Stuti composed by him and a separate Goda Stuti composed by him. He calls her the very embodiment of Kshama, that is compassion. So she has extreme patience and she has extreme compassion. She bears not only our weight, but also our karma. And she is the mother of all beings as well. She nourishes all the living creatures. Without her, the life would not be sustained. That is her greatness. So, Sakshat Kshamam. That is how Deshika uses the words when describing Goda Devi. So, she is extremely great. She is Lokamata. She nourishes and sustains us just like a mother. And when we call Vishnu as Jagannatha, that Jagat element is fully under her only. She is very important. In Varaha Avatara, Bhumi Devi cries. She prays to Bhagavan. And therefore he takes the avatara and saves the literal Prithvi, the non-living Prithvi. That is there. So, after lifting Bhumi Devi on his tusks and saving the world, killing Hiranyaksha and everything, afterwards, Varaha and Bhumi Devi have a discussion. That discussion is what has come to us as Varaha Purana. This Varaha Purana is very, very great. For Sri Vaishnavas, Varaha Purana is extremely important, even among the Satvika Puranas. Because it is believed to be perfect. Vishnu Purana is also perfect. Varaha Purana is also perfect. But Varaha Purana is a case where It is not a Rishi who is speaking. It is not some Parashara Rishi who is speaking. It is a case where Varaha himself is speaking to Bhumi Devi. So it is a divine conversation. So if we have Varaha Purana today, who do we have to thank for it? Bhumi Devi only. Bhumi Devi is the one who came as Sita. We know that well. She came as Sita, and therefore Janaka found her on the field. She returned to earth. All of that comes in Ramayana. Afterwards, in Krishna Avatara, we see Bhumi Devi both directly and indirectly. Indirectly, as one of his wives, we see, but directly also, Bhumi Devi approaches Vishnu in the form of a cow. She goes in the form of a cow and asks him to save her. That is why Krishna is born. We see that happening. We also see later Krishna gives the promise to Yashoda, and therefore he is born as Srinivasa, Venkateshwara, Balaji of Tirupati. There, it is the same Bhumi Devi who is born as Padmavati to Akasha Raja. Akasha Raja is a king, not the actual Akasha Deva. He is a king ruling those parts. To him, she is born as a daughter. So Padmavati is very famous. If you go there to Tirupati, you will see there is Tiruchanur at the bottom. Afterwards, you climb up and then you reach the actual Tirupati where Bhagavan is there. Tirupati itself, the word refers to Bhagavan. Tiru means Shri. But here, Padmavati Devi is Bhumi Devi. Is it really Bhumi Devi? The question will come. What is the real connection? The real connection is as follows. There was Sita in Ramayana. As per Matsya Purana, Ramayana happened in the 24th Kali Yuga. 24th Treta Yuga of this Manvantara. Currently, we are in the 28th Kali Yuga. 24th Treta Yuga. After that Chatur Yuga ended, 25th Chatur Yuga came, 26th came, 27th came. We are currently in the 28th Kali Yuga, that too. So more than 1 crore years ago, Ramayana happened. When Ramayana happened, there were 2 Sitas. One was Sita Devi, another who is popularly called as Chaya Sita in North India. Her story is also appearing in the Puranas. So there is a story of Vedavati. What happened? On the divine chest of Bhagavan, there lives his divine consort. On his chest, that is called Vakshasthala. On his chest, that is called Vakshasthala, on the right side of his chest, the Devi resides. Now, this Devi, Mahalakshmi, who is residing there, because Bhrigu stepped on Bhagavan's chest out of anger, what happened? She left the Vakshasthala of Bhagavan. She left, okay, but what happened after that? She performed tapasya at so many places. she wanted to attain Bhagavan. If we see the scriptures, all of these are, at the end of the day, leelas performed by them. But what is of special interest to us is the story of Vedavati. Vedavati was performing tapasya. Vedavati was born to Kushadhwaja. Kushadhwaja was a sage. She was born to him. He wanted to have Vishnu as his son-in-law. She wanted to marry Vishnu as her husband. So, eventually, it so happened that because he was not willing to get her married to anybody else, one king decided to kill him and his wife. Vedavati escaped death. She did not die. She was there. And she kept performing tapasya towards Vishnu. This Vedavati story is mentioned in Ramayana itself. Ravana talks about it. When Ravana was in his Digvijaya Yatra, he saw Vedavati, who was performing this meditation. He went and proposed to her, but she rejected him. He got angry and he pulled her hair, but the hair became sharp like swords and it injured his hand. He got very angry. So she cursed him. Invoking the Agni of Pativrata, she decided to immolate herself. But at that time, she told him that I will only be the cause of your death. I do not belong to anybody other than Bhagavan Vishnu. O Ravana, you will never attain me. However, because of your evil act, note this down, you are going to die and I am going to be the cause of your death. Now, this is what happens, that this Vedavati is brought back by Agni Deva. And Vedavati is the one who is kidnapped by Ravana, thinking that it is Sita. So, this is how the story is mentioned. There is a slight difference between the Puranas in this regard. The general stories, Venkatachala Mahatmyam is taken from Purana. It is existing in the Puranas. From the Puranas only the story has come. It is also mentioned in Devi Bhagavatam. From there we understand that Vedavati is Chaya Sita or Maya Sita, however she is called. Brahma Vaivarta Purana explains it in a slightly different way. Brahma Vaivarta Purana says Vedavati only came as Sita. How is that possible? No. Maybe it means to say that the same goddess, different aspects of her were born that way. That is how we should reconcile. Otherwise, the story would become confusing. So, she was eventually born to Akasha Raja and she ended up marrying Bhagavan, who came as Srinivasa. That entire story is the Sthala Purana of Tirupati. It is the Venkatachala Mahatmya, which is mentioned. Parts of it, different parts of it, if you see, you would end up seeing about 12 Puranas talking about it. Or perhaps more, I don't know. But Brahmanda Purana is generally cited in this regard. So, anyway, this is the real story. So, was it really Bhumi Devi who came, or was it some other form of the Devi? Depending on how you are going to look at it, whether you take the Pramana as Brahma Vaivarta, as some people do, or whether you take it as Devi Mahatmya and other such records? The answer is going to vary slightly. At the end of the day, we should understand that it is Lakshmi only. She should be worshipped. Prithvi, we are standing on top of it. We are keeping our feet on top of it. Yet, it is worshipable. We should understand this. It is only in Sanatana Dharma that we would say even that on which you are standing is worshipable. You cannot see this in any other religion. But we talk about it and we are very firm about it. So, we are 100% conforming not only to science but also to the aspect of respecting nature, of sustainable development, and so on. And the source of all of these, the actual root cause of all of these, is not just a direct teaching of, oh, this is nature. If you don't respect it, you will suffer. If you don't think about sustainable development, your children will suffer. It is not that kind of a fear-inducing strategy that we see. In Sanatana Dharma, at the core, there is no preaching of fear and there is no scaring tactic. What is really there is divinity, the teaching of association with divinity for the purpose of attainment of divinity. That is the real lesson of Sanatana Dharma. If we understand it, we would realize that everything is holy. Vayu is holy. The air that I breathe in and breathe out, do I sense any divinity in it? Maybe I should. Water is holy. Water sustains life. The earth is holy. Fire is holy. Every one of the 5 elements is holy. Whenever you think about any element, you should be able to remember Bhagavan. Akasha, oh, Akasha is everywhere, just like Bhagavan who is everywhere. Vayu, without Vayu, there would be no life, just like how without Bhagavan, there would be no life. Agni is so pure. The purest of the pure is Bhagavan only. Pavitranam pavitram yo mangalanam cha mangalam. He is the divine of all the divine. He is the most auspicious among the auspicious. That is how we understand Bhagavan. So, no matter which one of the bhutas we are thinking about, eventually it should take us to the thought of Bhagavan. This is a very, very important teaching of Vishishtadvaitha. When we say everything is Bhagavat Shesha, when we say everything is Bhagavat Sharira, we imply that no matter what you look at, no matter what you think, you should be directed towards Bhagavan. This concept was understood by mathematician Ramanujan. That is why he said that mathematics will not interest him if it does not induce a thought of Bhagavan to him. And mathematics indeed kept reminding him about Bhagavan to the extent that Devi herself came and spoke to him at night, discussed mathematics in his dreams. So, the ideal concept, like why are we learning about Panchabhutas? Your Vishishtadvaita is about what? You talk about Paramatma, that is Vishnu, or you talk about Jiva. We discussed about Artha Panchakas, right? Talk about how to attain that Vishnu. You talk about the Brahma Vidyas. You discuss Prapatti in greater detail. You give more examples of that. Why are we not doing it? Why are we discussing about Panchabhut? No matter what you see. The answer is that no matter what you see, whether you see Panchabhutas, Panchatanmatras, this, that, it doesn't matter. No matter what you see, you should be able to get a sense of Bhagavan. As Krishna said, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Kavi Hastini, Shunichai Vashvapake Cha Pandita Samadarshina. The shloka has been cited many times in our class, right? So, in everyone and everything, we should be able to see the equality that it is Bhagavat Sharira. And that equality should eventually take us to Bhagavan, who is common between everything. That is the aim. This is again taught by Swami Vedanta Deshika in another shloka from Subhashita Nivi. But About that, we can see later. For now, the teaching is that the Panchabhutas are there. They are very good. They are sustaining life for us. Everything here is made up of them, but they are all under the control of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is inside all of them, yet not dependent on them. He is the one who is controlling them and helping us with them as the media. Understanding this, we should surrender to that Bhagavan. We should think about his infinite compassion and surrender to him. That is the teaching. So with this, I would like to conclude today's session. If there is no question, we can end the class. संशकुलशोधिकौस्तुभस्य श्रीवासराधो भगवस्तनयं ततश्च विद्यावापे बृहत्तमतां प्रधानं करुणाकराख्यं सहाय कल्याणगुणशालिने श्रीमते वेंकटेशाय वेदांत गुरवे नमः। मंगलाशासन परैः हिन्दाचार्य पुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्यैः सत्कृताय अस्तु मंगलम्।